I'm rolling. Okay, so could you guys just introduce yourselves and Tantric Picasso, and then subsequently introduce your project?
Okay, my name is Jackson Boone, the singer of the band, and
My name's Matthew Tanner, and I'm the lead singer of the band. We're Tantric Picasso, 2/6.
Yeah, we're a kind of a genre-hopping metaphysical rock and roll band coming out of Denver, Colorado. We all met in art school, and now we're a traveling rock and roll band. So there's 4 other guys in the group: Marco Melnick, but we just call him Marco, Jason Kane, Pablo Cruz, and Carl Rivers. And this is our first time out on the road, and it's wonderful to be here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. We're about to play a gig for a bunch of art students, so they'll probably be receptive as ever, because usually young kids who are creative are the most receptive when you play to them.
Okay, could you introduce Wavelength?
You do that.
Wavelength of Goodbye is a 77-track psychedelic journey which goes in and out of several different genres, several different musicians. It's a collaborative effort to make a statement for an oversaturated record for an oversaturated music industry.
As this record was starting to conceptualize itself, I liked to label it as, and I'm sure other guys in this particular interview are using this same terminology, an oversaturated album for an oversaturated music industry.
By that I mean it's a 77-track journey through all sorts of genres, but centered around the main theme of the concept of a wavelength. The wavelength of goodbye. The chorus being tune in, tune out, drop in, drop out, which is kind of what, we feel a lot of people and places are really experiencing right now. There's so many different elements in the world blending together cohesively, and yet it's hard to step back and really make sense of it because it's all happening so fast. And that's what this kind of collectively embraces, I would say.
It's an immensely representative album of the times now. The duality humanity is going through in terms of people who are really waking up and ascending to a more spiritually involved daily lifestyle, and the other people who are dropping off and falling subject to their desires or what have you, and consuming more so than they produce. And this record is really embodies that dualistic vibe, which is part of the reason why I'm so excited about it, because it is kind of reminiscent of a wavelength in that regard, that it's just peaking and dropping in and dropping out as kind of, and that tune in, tune out motto or philosophies definitely rolls into the now from the 60s, which I didn't live through the 60s because I'm only 23 and it's the year 2011, but from what I speak with people of that generation, there's kind of a reawakening of those essences that's occurring right now within art, culture, and music. And I think that Wavelength of Goodbye is kind of a transcendental representation of what music is and what it is not. There's songs that are jokes that are kind of obscure and abstract, and then there's songs that are beautiful and ornate and delicate and simple. So it's a dualistic journey.
Wavelength. Yeah, Wavelength. It's a sort of a artistic culmination and release of all these different things that are happening. So there's straight up tantric tunes that are, songs from the band as a 5-piece. There's also jams and tunes from other artists and collaborations and all these different things. That's just like, Matt has the studio, let's just bring people together and make art here and put it together into this collection of tunes and tracks and clips, and it becomes this overall piece of work that can be, viewed and listened to as this entity.
Well, like anything that we do, it kind of starts out as a joke, and then we're like, we could actually do it. And then we're like, wow, we have a lot of songs together. And our previous record, we wanted to make it more of a pop record to get more fans than just classic rock and roll. And this one is going to be way across the board with like rock and roll and some of our back catalog and some new songs and just like a lot of different genres, and we're getting a lot of different artists on it too that we met along the way. And we find that there's so much information out there that we just want to like overwhelm them with information and give them as much as they can, and they can process it later. And if they like a couple of songs, they can just keep those, and if they don't like these other ones, they can just discard them. And it's funny because it appeals to so many different people, and we are going to piss some people off, and we're also going to surprise a lot of people, I think, with what's going to be on that album.
It's a spectrum of not saying no to anything, and of just flushing out lots of songwriters' material so that we can move forward and start concentrating on a synergetic connection and masterful songwriting as a group, instead of being one at a time bringing songs to the table, and rather a cleansing and a purge so that we can transcend where we are now and move on to broader tunes, I guess.
The point being is not to release 7 albums worth of material, but all that material is pertaining to one idea. I mean, it's 7 albums worth, but it's not, we're not trying to cram 7 albums into one album. It's literally, we have between 6 singer-songwriters, I mean, we have that much material to churn over and release, and so it's more of a huge weight off our shoulders to just get this done and complete a project that's that big.
In the past, we haven't had enough songs, so we're flipping the entire different direction, and it's just a clearinghouse for us as well. We're putting it all out there on the table. We're not holding back at all whatsoever. Any crazy idea is going in there too. It's not like anything is too crazy. There's just a thing that we'll say is like, throw it on Wavelength, man. Throw it on there. So that's a huge piece of the project too, is that any wild idea you have, it can be on there, like there's all these crazy ideas. We have proving shamans, Native American people. We have tapes of my grandma interviewing her grandparents that might end up on there. Crazy rap songs. Einstein's theory of relativity is all going to be included in that album.
I think it's more than just 7 records. It's Japanese noise pop to folkloric mystical music to electronic noise to well-crafted songwriting in which a 6-piece band is all putting in their arranged parts.
I think in many ways there's an element of really free artistic release with this project, because it's not an album in the traditional sense where it's, sort of confining to or conforming to a model, sort of. An album, usually you think of an album as, 12 to 15 tracks or something, and it's this, you can listen to it on a CD, it fits on a CD, This is something new and a new idea that's, it's obviously much longer than a single CD could fit. And it's also rougher in many ways, I think, and that element of it is really cool because there's not so much pressure put on, okay, let's, we have to finish this album and get this certain feel for it. It's all these different tracks that are together, and there's a real freedom, I think, in putting together a project like this, because it's, I don't know, it's, the whole idea is just kind of crazy, and as such, the project itself becomes this sort of, rolling energy that's really interesting. I think there's a challenge there that the guys just kind of latched onto immediately.
And we just think these are really just outrageous numbers that are just fun to play with, because if you're going to do something, just go big. You know, so many people in life just go with the standard 11 songs, 12 songs, you know. It's got to be perfect and overproduced. Like, we're going to have the produced stuff, but we're also going to have the lo-fi, just crap on there. And I think that's awesome, because it's a part of life. We're trying to incorporate life. You know, you'll have your romance and your death. You'll have your sitting around doing nothing time. You'll just have your weird stuff going on. We want to express all of that, because that's a part of our life. And we find that all the colors are beautiful. And I want to record stuff that I've never heard before. I want to make music that makes me go, what the hell is that? You know? So I think that's all going into this album. All this weird sludge, we're just throwing it on there, and along with beautiful crafted stuff. And we hope that it's just going to blow people's minds away and just be a really cool kind of back catalog or something to fall back on. You know, if you listen to a band and you hear like their same song like 5 times, you're like, that's great. But then you get sick of those songs. If there's just so many different songs and genres going on, we think that hopefully it'll take a lot longer to get sick of. And by that time, we'll have more albums out.
Yeah.
So when Wavelength of Goodbye is sitting in front of a listener for the first time, and maybe they just heard about the band, or maybe they've been following the band for a while, it's the sheer volume of material, you know, putting it in front of the listener. And, you know, how do you captivate someone's attention for over, 4 hours through music? And there's many different ways. I mean, I want the listener to have as many different ways to listen to it as we did creating it, you know. It's just having fun playing with the art until the very end, like as much as you can, molding it and sculpting it till it reaches the ear of the listener. So it's just fun, man.
This is just another step for us so we can continue on to make our true masterpieces.
Yeah, that's the for me in terms of that record. It is just a flushing out, a cleanse, a purge of what we have accumulated creatively in these past 3 or 4 years of us playing together, and it's kind of, it'll be new beginnings once we have this record out, because the creative talent within the group is mind-bogglingly just endless.
And there's always a record button, you know. Everyone's got some sort of mobile recording device or video or pictures, and all of our friends are visual artists or dancers or whatever. And it's like, oh, you want an animation? Oh, you want a documentary? Oh, can you help me with this? Yes. Do you need music? Of course. Let's all, you know, it's just swirling and swirling around, and so we can really come together and collaborate on, you know, I guess the word would be refined, dynamic music.
It's the most excited I've ever been about putting out music.
Cool. That's perfect. That's